All right, welcome to Problem Solver Politics, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday, so we got a big show ahead of us today. I'm Cardon Ellis, your host. We are in the studio live right now with the perfect political poet, the pop culture party, Cardon Ellis.
Hello.
And we also got a very awesome guest who's going to be joining us for the second segment of the day, Dave Shelton in the studio.
Oh, nice to be here.
Yeah, that was pretty enthusiastic.
Nice to be anywhere.
That was awesome. One of the few outed conservatives in Hollywood. We're going to talk a little bit about Hollywood and some of his politics and some of his projects. And we are totally going to hit up today the Katy Hill Town Hall that happened up in Palmdale, some of the controversies therein, and some of the concerns that we really have, some of the concerns that we have that we noticed from the town hall. And I really, really hope all these demographics that deeply swung in the last election, specifically some of you suburban ladies out there that might be listening, I hope you listen up to our analysis thereof. But before we go anywhere, as promised, one of our New Year's resolutions is we really want to introduce a lot more pop culture because it's really, really funny and we got a lot to say about it into our show. So we have decided to bring along Santa Clarita's very own pop culture poet, Cardon Ellis, to give us the lowdown on this week. Brittany, hit it.
All right. So Sandra Bullock kept bumping into the camera while filming Bird Box. Women and men all over the country are agreeing that Trevante Rhodes is a fox. I mean, as the meme suggests, there would be more than boy and girl. There would also be he and she and them and us. Moving on. Kendall Jenner is revealing a secret later on tonight. I just hope it's not another Kanye and Taylor Swift fight. Speaking of a feud, today up in Palmdale at Town Hall, our Congresswoman, Katy Hill, said she represents the majority and not us all.
Oh, all right, sweet. Cody, we got to get some really cool, arena laughter or something as soon as a poet. I mean, we just did pop culture in poetry form here. All right, and we're going to, that was pretty epic. We need somebody to be yelling at all of us to laugh and clap like bark trained seals, like they do in all of the, the sound stages when we go down over the hill. Okay, so cool. So hit us. What happened this week?
Okay.
First things first.
So it is true. Sandra Bullock was bumping into the camera while filming Bird Box. Yeah, she was literally blindfolded and couldn't see, and she literally was bumping into the cameras.
So for those of you that haven't seen Bird Box, it's actually a really cool movie. I did enjoy it. It's kind of like Netflix's spin on A Quiet Place. Mm-hmm. Instead of not being able to hear, it's more of a visual element. You can't see. Once you see the monsters, then they take over your body and make you want to jump off a building or something crazy like that. So there's been all these controversies and memes floating around the internet. One of the most hilarious ones I saw was my cousin actually posted a meme that says, "For all you haters complaining that Bird Box is an unoriginal movie, how dare you spend $20 a movie ticket to go watch the 17th Marvel superhero movie?" That was brutal. All right, next on the list. Hit me.
Okay, next. Okay, so Kendall Jenner.
Wait, no, there's some about the hot guy in the movie Bird Box.
Well, that's on Bird Box. You want to keep talking about Bird Box?
Yeah, you got to talk about how hot he is. Because, I mean,
he's just really hot. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
I mean, that's true. I mean, I played for the other team for a solid 3 seconds when he first came on the screen. I was like, whoa. Yeah. Where's this guy been?
I don't know what movies he's been or where he's been, but... I'll follow him now, you know?
Be honest, babe. Have you already followed him on Instagram?
Maybe.
All right. Next.
Okay, moving on. So, Kendall Jenner, for a couple of days, Kris Jenner, Kendall Jenner, they've been alluding to this fact that she was going to be dropping this very raw story that was going to be helping a lot of people. Okay, so everyone...
Yeah, I saw her little video on Instagram,
Yeah, it's been in anticipation, what's her big story?
37 million views or something like that before.
Yeah, it was a lot. People were really following, because people really follow the Kardashians.
Yeah.
So, Kendall revealed that she is the new face of Proactive. She's dealt with acne.
What?
That's her big raw story.
No!
She's gonna help millions.
No! Oh my gosh. Okay, look, I've had family members who have had crippling acne, and it is vicious some of the social consequences, especially on young kids that haven't developed the coping mechanisms to work through our social world. Children can be cruel, so acne can be bad, and it is a problem that I think needs to be dealt with. And these scientific advances are amazing, but at the same token, in that video, I was thinking she was going to come out with like
a Me Too thing, or
like
something.
an abusive history story,
Right.
or a suicide attempt to help people that might have tried to take their own life, or maybe an eating disorder for girls that might be dealing with that worldwide, or just something. And it was
had acne.
It was to
Yeah.
pump a proactive product.
Yeah, she's the new face for Proactive. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is just brutal.
Yeah.
That is just brutal. All right, I mean, brutally effective. I mean, part of me kind of wants to think, wow, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. They have no shame.
No.
They have
no.
no shame. All right, okay, keep going. Next one.
Okay, the next one, you want to jump into town hall? What happened in Palmdale today?
Oh, dude, no, we'll save that one. I'll take
'Kay.
that segment. What happened next?
That's it. That's
Oh,
all
that's
I got
it.
for
Oh,
pop
dude.
culture.
Okay, actually, no. Then you know what? I think actually we will talk about town hall. So, tell us what happened in town hall.
Okay, so it happened up in Palmdale,
Okay.
and it was a lot of Trump bashing. It was a lot of,
Well, what is it? There was a
what?
town hall meeting.
Yeah, it was a town hall meeting up
It was
in
just a
Palmdale.
regular, normal town hall meeting,
Yeah,
not anything
regular.
official. Okay,
No,
cool,
no,
awesome.
the mayor was there, everything.
Okay. Well, now you know it's legit. The Palmdale mayor showed up.
Exactly.
While we're fighting about who our mayor is here in Santa Clarita, they got it on lockdown, and the guy just shows up. Okay.
They're a little bit more official, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
So anyway, so after Katie Hill spoke, the mayor spoke, some other government officials spoke, and then Katie Hill opened it up for questions. So right off the bat, this man shoots up his hand. He has a question about the wall that Trump wants to build and why, this government shut down. And he asks a question that goes against what Katie Hill believes. He's asking, why not just build the wall? She obviously does not like that question and just shoots him down, okay? She answers a little bit and says, well, I represent the majority, not all.
Ooh.
Okay. Sends him sitting down and then says, next, and totally just disregards the man who, I'm sorry, that's your constituent? Like, is it her first town hall meeting?
I think since getting sworn in,
yeah.
I think so. Okay.
And right off the bat, you're just going to send that guy packing, basically, and just say, next.
Okay, so for all of our listeners out there, I actually think this is very, very important. This has a lot to do with the national conversation, actually, as well as the local conversation. So we're actually going to play a clip of this interaction in its entirety, because one of the rules of the show is we don't do gotcha journalism, okay? And we play clips in their entirety so that they are not taken out of context, and we do not do what the lazy or sensationalist or dishonest mainstream media does. So we're going to play for you really quickly the interaction between one of Katie Hill's constituents and her in this Palmdale town hall. We got this? All right, here we go.
Thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah.
Well, it was a very interesting presentation. Thank you for it. But
This
I
is during a
just wanna mention
Q&A.
one thing that I think it's very interesting that here we are, we're in a union hall where collective bargaining is enshrined, both by unions and by the Democratic Party. Similarly, our laws are also collectively bargained through our system of representative government. Yet many of our immigration laws, including the Secure Fence Act, were designed to protect American workers and American wages so that our vulnerable workers don't have to compete with jobs with illegal workers. Yet politicians that oppose and obstruct effective immigration enforcement and the wall are allowing millions of illegal aliens workers to undercut and depress American wages. And the employers and politicians that allow this are in fact acting like rats and union scabs. Please explain to me how we have no right to our immigration laws, which were collectively bargained for, including the Secure Fence Act, and please explain to me how a wall will not benefit the poorest of American workers.
So I'll just start by saying that our facts don't match up, where millions of illegal people of any other. And I'll also say that right now we're in the midst of collectively bargaining, and I'm sent to Washington to go and negotiate with my peers, which are representing their respective districts of 750,000 people, and that's the solution that we're going to come to. Thank you. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
No, we have our laws, and you're not allowing them to be enforced.
I'm here to represent the majority. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so now we cut down a lot of the barking of the train sealed and everything like that. Obviously, there were a couple things wrong with both parties engaged in this interaction that I think are worthy of discussion. However, one of them, under duress, completely shows... I mean, both people showed their true colors here, and both people, I don't think, were operating well. But the difference is one of them controls a huge portion of our local government and influences federal government, okay? So we're going to dissect this a little bit. First off, I give mad props to this guy that showed up. I mean, this was literally Democrat after Democrat talking about how great Katie Hill was and asking questions like softball questions like, when you get up in the morning, do you think you're amazing or do you think you're beautiful first? You know, I mean, they were all fluff questions. And this guy gets up and asks, obviously, a hardball question. Now, I didn't really like too much of his snark when he said, oh, Democrats are acting like, you know, union scabs and being rats. But he brought up a bunch of facts that the Secure Fence Act was designed in order to keep, you know, illegal immigrants coming out because it's depressed the wages of the American citizen workers, so on and so forth, okay? And he starts getting booed a little bit, at which point she first says, our facts don't match up, okay? Now, I got a huge problem with that in the beginning because first off, the fact that illegal immigration depresses American workers' salaries is an absolute economic fact that has been well documented in study after study, year after year. Now, there's plenty of libertarian thought into the fact that we need open borders. And to a certain extent, I'm okay with a lot of these great worker visa programs we had, like back when we had the Bracero program and things like that. I'm not trying to stifle immigrant labor, okay? But the fact, the immigration fact that illegal immigration depresses American workers' wages is undisputable. So for her to come out and say, oh, our facts don't match up is beyond the pale of dealing in good faith with your own constituent, okay? And then second off is what she said a little bit later when he went to go ask a second question. Could you play that one again for us really fast, Cody? Upon doing not a follow-up question, but upon doing her response, her first answer is...
I'm here to represent the majority.
Okay.
I'm here to represent the majority.
So he tries to follow up, and then she comes back, and the first thing she says is, we're going to listen to that one more time.
I'm here to represent the majority.
Okay.
I'm here to represent the majority.
Now, I have a huge problem with this. I think oftentimes when you kind of bother people, you get under their skin, all of a sudden the truth comes out. This concept that you are here to represent the majority is absolutely un-American. And I don't say that just to be an old guy saying the word un-American is thrown around way too often here. But let me tell you, it was a majority white Congress that philosophically saw the flaws in Jim Crow that signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Martin Luther King's argument for civil rights and for African Americans having voting rights, having equal protection under the law, would be an absolute dead on arrival cadaver had the white majority of the 1964 Congress or the white congressman of that time said, I'm here to represent the minority, or represent the majority.
I'm here to represent the majority.
So, I mean, people, we need to pay attention to this because this has huge ramifications. When you become a politically or a democratically elected political leader in our country, you are representative of every single member. And this is honestly a big problem I have with Trump. I really, really wish when those actors of Hamilton got up and kind of did their political theater protest against Mike Pence, I wish the next day he would have invited that cast to his office and said, look, You've heard a lot of false narrative out there. You've heard a lot of lies. The Republicans have it out for the gay community. You've heard a lot of lies about me and views I may have had in the 70s about certain legislation that had to do with the LGBTQ community. Let me set the record straight and tell you that I care about you as LGBTQ members of our society just as much as I care about the straight majority that helped get me elected. Okay? So for her to come out and say that, oh, I represent just the majority, I have a huge problem with that, because we live in a system where the majority does indeed rule, but the minority has rights. And now we're living in a system where the minority rules and the majority has to walk around on eggshells, and or in these single-party rule states, you literally have no voice, no chance, and basically the same situation as somebody like behind the Iron Curtain did, at least in terms of free speech, in the Soviet era. Oh my goodness gracious. I've botched this 3 times. Well, this is worse than Siri's autocorrect, okay? In the Soviet era, which did happen in the Soviet area. All right, there we are. I fixed it. Okay, so then finally, she finishes out her response, basically do we have the end segment of that, Cody? We don't? Okay. Well, she basically shuts the guy up. Okay. Now, I'm okay with that. I got to tell you, I felt bad for Steve Knight, and I give credit where credit is due. I like that she said, hey, we're collectively bargaining right now. Okay, I will give Katie Hill credit for saying, hey, we're collectively bargaining right now. That is true. The court of public opinion is part of the collective bargaining process in our political system. And the founding fathers actually specifically called the media, okay, or back then they called it the press, but the media was the 4th branch of government, okay? And we depend upon that 4th branch of government, yes, to speak truth to power and so on and so forth, but sometimes they can be obnoxious, and I've been to these town halls. There's always some SJW against the Republican, or there's always some hyper-conservative freak against the Democrat that's, making some big scene and misbehaving, and the guy obviously had some edge and some pepper behind his fastball, you could tell from his question. However, he went to go ask his follow-up question, which is very appropriate in these town hall settings, and she immediately shut him up. And then when he tried to speak again, she shut him up again until she finally sends her what? Her little minions, her little interns, her little whoever's controlling the situation to go and do what? Take his microphone away. What does this completely remind you of? Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm here to represent the majority.
Ladies and gentlemen, we lost our collective minds when Jim Acosta tried asking his follow-up questions, and the Democrats went crazy when Trump had his microphone taken away. The cure for bad political speech is not less speech, but more speech. And there is no way any Democrat, there are plenty of Democrats that listen to this show, and I call on all Democrats, all liberals, okay, all progressives that value free speech and value that collective bargaining process to renounce this act, because if we do, or if you don't have problems with her doing it, then at least don't have problems when Donald Trump revokes the press pass of Jim Acosta. Because if we are going to survive, and if this system is going to work, we need to be able to get along and do this collective bargaining, which is going to require a conversation. So either we all have this rule where, one question, no follow-ups, politicians can shut up whoever's asking the question, and we don't complain when Jim Acosta's press release gets revoked, or we got to hold Katie Hill's feet to the fire as well. We got a couple of really great guests in the studio. We're going to talk a little bit to Dave Shelton on the other side of this brief commercial break. There's more coming at you. This is Problem Solver Politics.
If you'd like to take your business up a notch, take a look at Elite Magazine.
Linda and Mo Hafizi, owners of our Valley's 2 leading magazines, the Magazine of Santa Clarita and Elite.
I'm so proud of Elite. It allows your advertisement to stand out. We distribute Elite to 50,000 homes and businesses. You'll find us in 1,900 local hotel rooms.
Discover how Elite Magazine can help your business. Call 294-4444.
Superior quality is second nature to us. Just ask our advertisers.
Hey guys, this is Cardon Ellis, host of the new show, Problem Solver Politics, an independent political talk show that keeps you up to date and in the latest political happenings, both nationally and here in the Santa Clarita Valley. Now, this isn't your usual partisan political talk show. At Problem Solver Politics, we have both Democrats, Republicans, and Libertarians hash out their differences on air as we strive to find solutions to today's challenges. Join us Sundays at 7 p.m. for Problem Solver Politics.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220, your hometown station.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. We are live in the KHTS studio. This is Cardon Ellis, your host, and I've got with me a pretty cool guest, pretty wild guy. The things that happen in Los Angeles. We are here with Dave Shelton.
Hey, you don't know how hard it was for me to keep my tongue quiet. Like, especially the last segment, I didn't know I was okay to like chime in.
No,
but I saved it.
Yeah, please opine. All right, so a little bit of backstory here. We were going to do kind of a musical comedic music video and introduce some other comedic elements into our show. So I'd actually put out an ad on Craigslist looking for some politically motivated comedians who wanted to get their stuff made and get their word out, And the response was overwhelming. It was great. Obviously, being in Los Angeles, the vast majority of them were total anti-Trumpers, convinced they're the next Stephen Colbert mixed with Jon Stewart, mixed with every other late-night host.
Right, and then came Dave. Then came Maud. then came Dave.
Then there was this short email. I should have saved the email and brought it back on, but it was just something along the tunes of, "Hi, my name's Dave Shelton. I'm an award-winning cartoonist and X, Y, and Z, and I'm a totally outed Hollywood conservative who's been retweeted by A, B, C, D, and E person. Here's my number." And I just thought, what? Okay, wait, somebody's coming out the gates.
I got a great response from you.
Yeah, somebody's coming out the gates. What did I say?
You said you're an enigma.
Oh, I was like, well.
Get your ass up here.
So anyway, basically, we connected, and I looked up his stuff, and you got a pretty impressive IMDb profile, and you've done a lot of stuff. Quick, a background history about you, man.
Quickly, I wrote for Everybody Loves Raymond. For 7 years, I was with National Lampoon. I was a senior writer, head of cartoon projects. I have a book that's out called Brain Explosion at Barnes & Noble and Amazon. I was a cartoonist for Disney, and I worked for Tweety and Sylvester at Warner Brothers. I was with MTV, Nickelodeon, and I was a writer for Tiger Beat. Okay. I threw, it's like your audience probably goes to bed very early to get that credit. And just things like that. I do a lot of voiceovers. I have a lot of voiceovers for the Sci-Fi Channel, like the sci-fi movies and things like that. And I'm a musician. I've written with Albert Haig, who had The Grinch Stole Christmas. I just finished a new album. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, so here's...
And I have a new kids show out.
All right,
but we'll
awesome.
talk about that later.
Well, we're going to get the whole rundown before you get out of here. But this is my question. It's almost like the 22 different genders approved in New York City, How do you self-identify? Like, when you present, it's interesting that in your email you said, okay, I'm 100% outed conservative Trump supporter. I can't remember the exact terminology you used. Because, for example, me, I actually think I'm an extremely liberal person. I was raised by liberals, and liberalism to me is ardent defense of minorities, free speech. Free speech is huge. The idea that dissenting opinions cannot be crushed and need to be protected. Everything that was bad about the McCarthy trials that the Republicans were doing in the 50s is what liberals in the 70s, 80s, and 90s were teaching their kids not to do.
Right. I think my parents were like that. My father could have been a total McCarthyite. It's like the way he stifled me when I was little.
Well, so I look at this, and to me, I think that I'm so liberal that I'm willing to vote Republican if I have to, when the Republicans have it right. I just had a conversation with a woman who is a lovely, beautiful liberal person. I mean, she literally is as blue as they get, you know. But she runs a very successful preschool around here that does all the hippy-dippy stuff. I mean, we're talking they make their own bread with yeast they get from their grapes. They raise their own chickens. The kids literally learn everything. And she came to me one day in conversation when we were talking, and she said, you know, this is so hard for me. I've always been a big Democrat, but ever since they passed this law saying that you have to vaccinate your kids or else they cannot come to school, she says, I don't have the heart to turn these children away that I know are happy and healthy from good homes to turn away. I actually am identifying more with the Republicans on this issue, and it's causing me anxiety because I've always thought, you know, Republicans are the big, mean, anti-women people, anti-this people. So there's so many people for liberal reasons coming around. So I've always felt I'm doing a lot of my defense of some of these Republicans for liberal reasons, yet here you are coming out just saying, I'm 100% conservative.
Well, let me address that. It's like a lot of them will use – the one thing that Democrats, I've learned over the years, are really, really good at is manipulating agendas. And this has been, you know, just like with the vaccinations, just like with this, that, or the other thing, just like with vegetarians, just like with vaccinations. And if you look at everything that's happening in the country right now, and you know, one of the things I want to talk about is the fact with like the new Congress. Oh my God, go to my Facebook page and see some of the things I posted about that. But the fact that you can't, everything seems to be upsetting to a Democrat, you know, and then it's always the blame game, always on the right. Everything that's wrong with society is always like a conservative or Republican's fault. It's never take responsibility. I mean, Pelosi and Schumer are perfect examples. What's going on now? Always blaming, now they're blaming Trump for the fact that they can't get the wall.
So hold on a second. I completely get that. But my curiosity here before we go forward on some of these issues is, so you just walk around Hollywood just totally identifying as 100% conservative Trump supporter. That's just how you self-identify.
I wear my hat everywhere.
Wow.
I don't even care. You know, people go like, your career's over, and I joke, I go, what career? So like, now I'll be sitting at Starbucks with a friend, you know, and I try to just, you know.
Now, are you just the token guy wherever you go and people expect it, or?
Well, no, there's a lot of people that don't know who I am because, you know, my name gets out there on credits everywhere, but they don't always see my face.
Yeah, cartoonists have no love when it comes to facial
no
recognition.
No one sees us. And so
it's like
we're stuck in, or animes, we're stuck in a little room.
Yeah, everybody knows the lead singer of a band, but nobody can tell you what a drummer looks like in the most successful bands out there.
Unless you're Tommy Lee or something. But,
yeah,
you know, but yeah, it's kind of like that. But you know what? There are a lot of people, and people are always going, oh, I know your name, Dave Shelton. I've like seen your name everywhere. But if I'm sitting, say, at a coffee shop or something with a friend, I'll get two reactions. I'll get one where people will come out and give me the dirtiest look. You know, I do carry pepper spray, a taser, and one of those atomic flashlights with me just in case.
Okay.
And I've watched every Jackie Chan movie, and so I have a lot of friends in martial arts. But
are you suggesting that watching Jackie Chan movies through osmosis will teach you martial arts? That's actually an awesome theory.
I think that saved somebody from getting mugged once. I read about it. So, but I'll be sitting there, and then I'll either get like those horrible reactions, or I'll get, you have a lot of guts to be wearing that hat. People will come out, give me high fives. They'll just say something. And you know what's sad though? It's like the people that do that are the freaks of LA. Because they're like either like the rocker dudes or like the hippie chicks or the punk chicks and stuff.
Well, I got to tell you, I love political guts. I absolutely love political guts. And this is where I give, for example, I give Katie Hill credit too. I met Katie Hill actually at a homeless function, all right, when it was time to count the homeless. Once a year they count the homeless, and it's kind of like a homeless census, so they can allocate resources.
That's like half of California now.
Well, the housing prices are driving us all into the beach houses.
I've been to Skid Row and I've seen it and stuff.
And well, yeah. So I mean, she actually was in my truck. We're driving around trying to count the homeless for this volunteer thing, and she had her little interns with her and stuff. She had her cool little entourage. And we talked politics for like 2 or 3 hours while we're counting the homeless. There's probably a reason why she doesn't return my phone calls after that conversation. But anyway, no joke, she was so in it to win it, running on a shoestring budget, okay, that she was actually collecting the 3,000 signatures necessary to make it onto the ballot without paying like the $3,000 that you got to pay. And if you just want to be on the ballot and just pay.
Right. There's ways around that.
Yeah. She was doing a grassroots style. And I was one of her first signatures. All right. And I told her, I said, dude, you got guts. She's going up against Steve Knight, an incumbent. So I said, just like I said before, the cure to bad free speech is not less speech but more speech, and the best way to sterilize a bad idea is to stick it out in the sun and bring it to light for a couple of hours. So no matter what your political views are, I am a huge fan of you participating in this process, so I will sign your paper, and you got guts, girlfriend. So, I mean, I look at you, and I'm like, wow, you got guts.
Even more so than that, because I'm up against an industry that is so pervasive of those kind of people that,
that's a little bit of what I want to talk about, is this is what blows my mind, all right, because
I'll give you a couple examples when you're ready.
Oh, yeah, no, we'll get to them, but I look at Hollywood, and Hollywood runs on two things. The rights. Who has the rights to something? Who's got the rights to that story? Who's got the right to this person's life story? The right to that script, the right to this book, the right to this play, because we want to make a movie out of it, and the person that can pull the profit is the person that has the rights to it, correct? We sell rights, we buy rights. Everything's all about rights, which is intellectual property protected by law, and also finances. I mean, our tax code is absolutely chasing film work out of Hollywood. The originator, I mean, Carl Laemmle. Let me give you a little bit of history for our listeners here that may not have heard this story before. But Hollywood was literally started by a Bavarian immigrant, all right, named Carl Laemmle. That's why the Laemmle chain carries the name Laemmle, all right? And he moved to Hollywood because all of the oppressive tax laws and intellectual property laws that made the Thomas Edison cameras the only way you could film in the Northeast. You know what I'm saying? In order to escape the oppressive taxation and laws of the Northeast, Carl Laemmle moved out west, yes, because you could film Westerns year-round, but mostly because the oppressive taxation was chasing away the movie business from the Northeast. So now Hollywood booms, especially in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, until all of a sudden we are the mecca of entertainment, at which point we start doing what? Introducing film permits, taxes.
Yes, everything is just like permit this, permit that. And it's not only that, it's just like the greed in which permeated through all that. It's like human greed, which like entitlement and things like that also changed things.
I mean, permutation is taking sometimes some of these productions up to 2%, 3% of their budget per day, which doesn't sound like a lot, 2% or 3%. But when you're dealing with millions of dollars with a budget, this is something that you need to look into as a producer. And producers are hemorrhaging work to
other places.
Atlanta. You see everything's going to Detroit. Everything's going to New York. And not only are they not taxing, they're giving refunds. They're doing reverse taxation.
And yet, the state, the way it is, it's like, don't get me started on the California issue, but when Jerry Brown became governor again, he had promised after Arnold that he was going to give more tax incentives to the industry to bring it back. And for like 1 second, he presented it as a bill. It didn't pass, and that is part of the reason why it is totally. Everyone I know is shooting out of state. For me, I don't care as a writer and stuff. I could work from anywhere.
Yeah.
I still have to deal with this. And when you're mentioning about financing and stuff, that's the bottom line in Hollywood. They don't care. Yes, people will know that I'm conservative, and yes, it may affect some people. But you know what? The bottom line is money. And if a movie makes money, they don't care if you're an alien from outer space, if you're some sort of amoeba. They just want the money. If they can get distributed, look at all the movies that are made by George Clooney. A lot of them fail, and yet they're $50 to $100 million movies that are budgeted. So it's all based on the audience and stuff.
Okay, so this is my question: is knowing what we know about Hollywood, that was birthed in this kind of libertarian view, actually, and it is all about rights and all about money. Those two principal things. Why do you think it is so pervasively liberal? I get artists are generally liberal in general. I mean, it is the liberal arts, but we have become uniquely wildly.
I don't think that term was created for liberals and leftists, but they're manipulating that word. See, they tried to take every friggin' word in the English language and manipulate it and stuff like that.
I mean, this is my curiosity. This is why I want to get you in here. Is I want to know what your experience was like, if it's actually ever inhibited you, or made it so that you couldn't get work or whatever. Because I push back a little bit on. I mean, as an independent person, I push back a little bit when I sometimes see conservative actors say that, oh, my politics cost me a lot in my career. And I kind of think, Sorbo,
maybe
people have ups
too,
and downs, It's
that
like
has a little to do with it.
And then, because what's wild is on the other end, you see, I forgot who was the short actor that was big in Cheers that's also very outspoken in his liberalism.
Danny DeVito.
Oh, it wasn't Danny DeVito. It was the other guy. That was
a short guy.
I can't remember. We'll find him up. I'll do a correction on this.
That was in Cheers.
Was it Norm or Cliff? Are you talking about the right
I don't know their character names. My parents watched the show, but I don't know.
Because either John Ratzenberger is one of them, I believe.
Okay, who's the one that's always...
George Wendt was the fat guy and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, whoever
that's politically incorrect.
Okay, whoever
the
it is...
plus-sized actor. He's a fat piece of...
I've seen liberals complain about the exact same thing, saying, it cost me business. And to a certain extent, I think, well, I mean, come on. All actors have a period where they're in vogue, and then they go out of style for a while, and their phone's not ringing as much. But then they have this comeback a decade later where people are like, oh, I forgot about that guy, and he's totally awesome.
One thing that's worse than I think your political views is in Hollywood, and I experience that, is ageism. They'll look at my IMDb, and they'll see that I worked on something in the 80s. And they'll go, well, he couldn't have been like 2 years old when he worked on that, because I worked at MTV and Nickelodeon in the 80s. And
so what is the hierarchy of discrimination? Because, hey, we're all trying to be victims here in modern society. That's the cool thing, right? But I am really curious.
Age is first, because National Lampoon had wanted me back. And then when they found out that I was from like an early era of Lampoon, my manager told me that. They said, one, they're looking for minorities, blacks, Asians, Latino writers, and two, people under the age of 40. And I'm going like, if that's not like an example of age discrimination, yet it doesn't matter whether you're a crap writer or you're, a Tarantino or, just anybody good. That the fact that it doesn't matter because your age is really something I think even more than the political side for me.
Yeah, what's funny is I have a lot of friends who work over at NBC Universal, over at Fox, some of these other places. I've heard a lot of the same thing, that I'm all about the diverse workforce, and especially in places like entertainment, I think it's really necessary, because the more people you have in the writer's room, especially when dealing with comedy, the better the comedy is going to come, because you have more.
Because you feed off ideas. That's the best way for comedy, especially sitcoms. Any TV show you have a writer's room in. But animation is the same way.
But on the executive end, though, and especially the hiring numbers, I think it's interesting. Like Harvard just got sued because Asian Americans got tired of having to get 67 points better than or 22 points better than white applicants and 67 points better than African American applicants just to get into Harvard. And I actually have friends that I won't name the company because I don't want to like put their job in jeopardy. You know what I'm saying? But I actually have a couple of friends who are still single. They're females and never got married, and they really kind of, went gung-ho in their careers and were very successful. But one of them is actually two of them I know have had a sit down with the same company saying, please stop promoting me. Like, I don't want more responsibility. I felt content 2 positions ago. I get you're trying to do this female, promotion thing, but like, hold on, can I have a say in this for a second?
Right,
you know what I'm
that
saying?
That could also be a cop-out on their part that they don't want. That's the thing about, like, in politics and stuff. The left seem to love to stifle things. Hollywood seems to love to stifle things just so that they could control whatever they control, politically or not.
So do you think politics plays as big a role in the hiring, the firing, and the process, shall we say, of the pipeline? Do you think it plays that big, your political views? Does it play into it that much or not? Do you think it's ever cost you work or not?
Well, I'm not sure if it costs me work or not, but I've never had a problem about it because I think people like my work. But then, I look at Clint Eastwood really fast, and they say, like, well, the ones that are like that are like the pussies and stuff that say that and stuff. Good old Clint, you came up with a great one.
Oh, wow. So, because I've always wondered this, because I can't tell you how many, like, it blows my mind how conservative Hollywood actually is. I can't tell you how many animators, how many gaffers, how many grips, how many writers, how many amazing cinematographers, how many actors. You'd be surprised how many actors it said.
Because there's a group that I was part of called Friends of Abe.
Yeah, the most secret group in Hollywood. Yeah,
I've been to their meetings and stuff.
No, I know, but I'm just saying people. But they all say one thing with hushed whispers. They're like, "Oh, yeah, dude, I totally agree with you, and I'm conservative. I think this tax bill is really costing us in Hollywood. But don't say anything to my friends. Like, it would cost me work. It would cost me my job. And it's like the McCarthy era. You know, the fear in their eyes is legitimate. I recognize bad fear when they're talking. So
I'm from Jersey. We don't have fear. Forget about it. No, seriously. It's like, I don't give a crap how people think about me. I'm going to say my word. I've been attacked by Antifa. I've been like on the firing. I was on the Oprah network talking about this stuff.
Well, this is why I wanted to get you on the show, because honestly, I really think the new avant-garde is a return to the old school. And the new brave people, the new gutsy people are not liberals in Hollywood. They're the rebels. Like, libertarian is the new cool, Republican is the new punk rock, and you got to have guts to go up against the system. You know what I'm saying? And you go up against the system.
Rock and roll high school, then that's me.
All right, so we're going to come back from a brief commercial break really fast to hear a little bit more about the projects and the politics of our new good friend here, Dave Shelton. This is Problem Solver Politics. It is 7:47.
You choose your dry cleaner for convenience. Maybe it's time to choose a dry cleaner that is not only convenient, but does quality work at a reasonable price. Town Cleaners. They're in the center of our valley, and they offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in Santa Clarita. Town Cleaners, a dry cleaner who goes the extra step. Their stringent quality control ensures the highest quality cleaning and pressing for your garments. And now through February, save 50% on all dry cleaning orders. Town Cleaners on Soledad and Rainbow Glen.
At Jersey Mike's, we make a sub above. Bread baked fresh, veggies served crisp, meat and cheese sliced on the spot. Then comes the juice. Red wine vinegar and olive oil blended to perfection. It's what makes a Jersey Mike's sub a sub to behold. And beholding? Well, we think that works best with two hands. Jersey Mike's, be a sub above.
Your Santa Clarita Jersey Mike's, a proud sponsor of Santa Clarita Sports.
With locations throughout the valley, Providence offers the most advanced technology and therapies for treating cancer in Southern California. Call 1-888-HEALING for your annual checkup or second opinion. The road to healing leads to Providence.
KHTS. Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. We're live in the KHTS studio with our new guest, Dave Shelton.
Hey.
And I got to give
about it.
I got to give a little shout out. For those of you guys that have not downloaded the KHTS app, you can listen to us live by downloading the KHTS app or checking us out on Facebook. We stream live on Facebook Live. You can see our guests and our beautiful radio faces. Also, it's pretty wild. We can actually interact with you on the Facebook feed. Shout out to Eric Hastings who just tuned in. Eric Hastings from Travel Show Live.
Very cool.
Yeah, on WABC in New York City.
Get me on that show.
Yeah. I don't know if he does anymore, but he was my first introduction to radio.
Oh, that's
I actually
awesome.
met him at a student function, and he liked me, and he made me a writer of his Daily Travel Minute, so on and so forth, which kind of launched my interest in radio. So shout out to Eric Hastings, coolest travel writer in North America. Woo! Look him up on Facebook. So anyway, Dave, let's get back to you and talking about some of these projects you're working on.
Okay.
I sometimes wish we could just record what happens in between segments because those minutes are amazing. You were telling me what you're working on. What are you working on?
Okay, well, I got a new kids show called Professor Creepy's Scream Party, and it's on Roku right now. And it was the #1 show for Halloween airing. It was 400,000 watchers and stuff, which was incredible. We just blew up the Roku numbers.
Now, what are those stats, by the way? Because 400,000, most people wouldn't think that's a lot next to some of these millions that you hear. But I
think
believe
a lot of those
the digital
millions are just Democrat number, factual, in fact.
Well, I was going to say, I believe the digital numbers more, because what Roku does and what some of these streaming devices do is they'll tell you how many minutes the person actually watched the show, at what point they paused and got bored. I mean, I would trust a 400,000 Roku show over what somebody in some award show says. We got 1.2 million viewers.
You mean like the what is it, the Golden Shower Awards that are on tonight and stuff, as I call them?
Okay, wow.
I guess you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I do. So anyway, keep going.
Okay, so we have that, and we just signed a deal with Retro TV for that, which is a huge kind of baby boomer channel.
Okay, cool.
And we're going to be doing that later in the year. So we got a nice deal with that. I've got my book, Brain Explosion, at Barnes & Noble, and you get on Amazon, and that's become a bestseller.
Well, what's Brain Explosion about?
That's a collection of all my work from National Lampoon, and I have some great dedications in it. You could see some of them online. It would take too long to break it down. I've got a new children's book called Bag Boy and Sweet Slob that's coming out this year. Let's see what else. Oh, I have a documentary, speaking of which, on Islamburg, New York, the Islam Brotherhood, and that is so interesting. I was hired by a Russian woman who's a friend of mine. I was a judge on a show called American Stars on a Chinese TV network, and her daughter was one of the contestants.
Wait, on a Chinese TV network?
It
like
was
of
a
actual
Chinese
mainland
American-
China?
Yes, it was in mainland China. They said I'm like a huge star there, and I said, why, because I'm 5'8"? And they come no, they said it was really big there, and Everybody Loves Raymond has gotten really big there, but they told me...
As in passed through the censor's office and everything? Like
yes, through the
wow,
censors and everything.
that's hard to do.
And
okay.
But because it was an American-Chinese conglomerate network, that I think they were able to get by. And so this little girl, she was very talented, and her mom. So she said that one of her friends or something had something happen with Muslims out in Russia or something, and I was approached by a biker gang in New Jersey to...
Are you talking about the Russians in Turkmenistan, or that one part
that
that's
area,
in China
yeah.
where they're starting to imprison you for being Muslim, the Chinese
Turkey
government
area
is?
and
Yeah,
stuff.
okay, I know what you're talking
and
about.
So then this biker gang was doing a ride against Islamburg, New York, where the Brotherhood Training Center is, where like everyone from Charlie Rose and stuff is exposed to this, where they actually train a lot of the terrorist sects, that, like some that were used in the London bombing and things like that. So I went with them, to put a film crew together, and went up there, upstate New York, got cleared by the anti-terrorist group, the officials, the FBI, things like that, state troopers and stuff. But when we went in to actually film, after the bikers went up there, they had this guy who, he said he was the mayor of Islamburg, but he wound up being like some hitman bodyguard, and he had found me, and he threw us out.
Okay.
And my cameraman was so friggin' pussy scared, he turned the friggin' camera off. But someone from the Sundance Channel was there, and they filmed me and stuff. But he wanted to charge me like $500 a second for the footage, and I said, screw that. But I put a great underground documentary together called Ask Me If I Care, CARE, and I entered in festivals, but no one took it because of the subject. So I uploaded it to Vimeo.
That doesn't surprise me.
People can go to Vimeo and watch it, and it's getting a lot of great response. People who aren't scared actually have come to me and told me how brave they thought it was and stuff.
So I have no idea even how to respond to that, because I've never heard of any of those events. But that sounds like it would be totally interesting.
I was there.
Okay.
That stuff is real.
Okay, well, you also mentioned earlier, though, that didn't you say, so this is a wild story. I mean, it's blowing my mind. But you also mentioned that, didn't you say something that you tweeted ended up kind of pissing off El Chapo?
Yeah.
So,
See, I don't.
Chapo
That's me. All right.
Okay.
I was on Twitter, and I've constantly gotten like kicked off of Twitter. I joke that I've had more email accounts than Hillary. And stuff on Twitter. So I don't even do Twitter anymore. But I did this one, and Vincent D'Onofrio, the actor, he and I started getting into it because he was blasting Trump. He was one of the ones threatening him and things. So I responded, and he has like 1 million followers. So I said, blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, Dave, I know who you are, and I love your work, and I'd love to work with you sometime. And then before he blocked me, one of his followers knew like the cartel people or something. What is that saying about Vincent D'Onofrio, like who his friends are? So I got something on Facebook in a messenger. I deleted. I had to block them. That's saying that I was now on El Chapo's radar and to watch my ass and stuff like that. But it hasn't been the first time, because I was actually a hit was put out on me back east. I dated the daughter of a famous trumpet player from the Jackie Gleason show, and his daughter, who I was dating, was married to a mob son. And after the divorce, he didn't want her to go out with anyone. We started dating. He put a hit out on me. But then the mob father put a hit out on the son, saying, "You whack my daughter and her boyfriend, then we're whacking you." The hit was taken off. So see, crap like that has happened to me all over, but I don't care. Just like Brad Sherman, our illustrious, my district, unfortunate guy who runs the district. Well, anyway, I was in the Chatsworth Christmas Parade in December, and he was there, and I was like, oh, great. Well, we were at the luncheon beforehand, and one of his campaign people come up and goes, "Hi, I represent Brad Sherman." I go, "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't vote for him." And he goes, "That's okay, we won." And my response was, first to say, "Oh, great." No, I said, "Yeah, but my president won." And that really shut him up. And he just put his face on it and walked friggin' away. So I was so psyched about that.
Okay, so there's this fact-checking section of my mind that is just I want to see the tapes. I want to see the footage.
Well, you can see when I went on the T.D. Jakes show on the Oprah Network.
Okay.
He's some really racist, evangelical guy from Alabama, and was her personal one. He ran a show. I was invited on the day after the election as a conservative, because I was very supportive of Trump on Facebook, to show my side of it. I was ambushed at Glendale Studios. I was put up against Gloria Orad's daughter, Lisa Bloom.
Okay.
I was called a racist. Because she had a black
you and everybody
there.
else.
And half the audience, 90% of the audience was black. During one of the breaks, one woman said, "Oh, I suppose now because you're a Trump supporter, you want us to be your slave." And I said, "Well, are you offering?"
Oh, dog! Ouch,
I got them on that one. And then
you can't be saying stuff like he alone is responsible for his own comments.
Well, no, because they were so nasty to me, and I was the only one on the panel.
Well, here's
that
the
was
sad
conservative.
thing. When you hear stuff like that, the sad thing is that
nothing we say gets through to them.
Well, it's pathetic to me that people actually think that they would come up to you and think that because of somebody that you voted for, that you actually wanted to do like Joe Biden says, have him back in chains. And this is where I call out Republicans as well. Democrats have a stranglehold on some of these areas in very destructive single-party rule because you haven't figured out that you only need to dig in 3 to 8% in the African-American vote in order to actually get them. And it behooves Republicans to go out of their comfort zone and go out of what they usually do besides getting up their base so they can actually make some positive change. So anyway, we're going to have to cut here really fast.
I just call that being an American.
Yeah, being an American. You've been listening to the wild and wacky, awesome Dave Shelton. You can check him out on Facebook and Twitter. We're going to take a brief...
Twitter.
Oh, no Twitter, right? He abstains from Twitter. This is Problem Solver Politics. See you next week.